an ancient echo resonates through the corridors of history, a whisper carrying three distinct names: Hebrew, Israelite, and Jew. These are not mere synonyms for a single group of people, but rather markers on a sprawling timeline, each representing a crucial chapter in one of the world's most enduring and influential sagas. To unravel their meanings is to embark on a journey that begins in the Fertile Crescent with a single nomadic family and stretches to the vibrant, complex tapestry of a global community today. Many assume these terms are interchangeable, used to describe the same people at different points in time. While there is a thread of continuity that connects them, the reality is far more nuanced and fascinating. Each name carries its own unique weight, its own specific historical and cultural baggage. Understanding the difference between them is not just an exercise in semantics. It is the key to unlocking a deeper comprehension of biblical narratives, ancient history, and the very identity of a people who have profoundly shaped the course of human civilization. This is not just a story of a nation. It's the chronicle of an identity forged in covenant, tested by exile, and preserved through millennia of faith and tradition. It is a story that demands to be told with precision and clarity, separating myth from historical reality and revealing the intricate evolution of a people and their relationship with their God, their land, and the world. Before we delve into this incredible journey through time and identity, if you find this exploration of history and faith compelling, take a moment to support our channel. Please click the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world. Your support allows us to continue creating content just like this. Our story begins not with a nation, but with a single individual, Abram, later known as Abraham. The term Hebrew, or ivory, in the original language, first appears in the book of Genesis to describe him. The etymology of Ivri is debated among scholars, but the most widely accepted theory connects it to the root word avar, which means to cross over. In this context, Abraham is the one who crossed over the Euphrates River to enter the land of Canaan, following a divine call that would set in motion a chain of events that would alter the spiritual landscape of the world forever. He was a man from Ur of the Chaldees, a Mesopotamian city, who made a radical break from his past, his culture, and his polytheistic family to embrace the concept of a single, universal God. Therefore, the term Hebrew initially denoted a geographical and social transition. It wasn't an ethnic or religious label in the modern sense, but rather a descriptor for Abraham and his immediate descendants, those who had crossed over into a new land and a new way of life. This was a clan, a nomadic family distinguished by their unique faith in a world teeming with gods and idols. They were pastoralists, moving with their flocks through a land promised to them, yet inhabited by others. The early Hebrews, including Abraham's son Isaac and grandson Jacob, were defined by this semi-nomadic lifestyle and their unique covenant with God. This covenant, a central theme in the Hebrew Bible, established a special relationship between God and Abraham's descendants, promising them land, progeny, and divine protection in exchange for their faithfulness. The term Hebrew thus encapsulates this foundational period of their history, a time of patriarchs, promises, and the very beginnings of a distinct spiritual identity. It was a time of wandering, of living as sojourners in a land that was not yet fully theirs, all while carrying the seed of a nation yet to be born. The stories from this era, from Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son to Jacob's wrestling with an angel, are not just foundational myths. They are the narrative bedrock upon which everything that follows is built. They establish the character of the people and their God, a people marked by their willingness to follow a divine call into the unknown, and a God who engages directly and personally with humanity. The narrative takes a dramatic turn with Jacob, Abraham's grandson. After a mysterious nocturnal struggle with a divine being, his name is changed to Israel, which means one who has striven with God. This single event is a pivotal moment, marking a profound shift in identity. From this point forward, Jacob's descendants, the 12 tribes that sprang from his 12 sons, would be known as the B'nai Yisrael, the children of Israel, or simply the Israelites. The term Israelite therefore signifies a transition from a single family, the Hebrews, to a confederation of tribes bound by a common ancestry and a shared destiny. This new name carried a deeper theological significance. It implied a collective wrestling with the divine, a national identity forged in a covenant not just with an individual patriarch, but with an entire people. This is the identity that coalesces during the centuries of bondage in Egypt. In the crucible of slavery, the 12 disparate tribes began to see themselves as a single entity, united by their shared oppression and their collective memory of the promises made to their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Exodus from Egypt is the defining event in the formation of the Israelite nation. Led by Moses, another figure who embodies the struggle with the divine, the Israelites are liberated from slavery and begin their long journey toward the Promised Land. It is during this 40-year sojourn in the Sinai wilderness that the Israelites receive the Torah, the divine law that would become the constitution of their nation and the cornerstone of their faith. At Mount Sinai, the covenant is renewed and formalized. It is no longer just a promise to a patriarch, but a detailed legal and moral code that governs every aspect of Israelite life, from worship and ritual to civil and criminal law. This is the moment the Israelites truly become a nation, a theocracy with God as their ultimate king and the Torah as their law. The term Israelite from this point on refers to a member of this national and religious community, a citizen of the nascent nation of Israel. It is an identity tied to a specific legal code, a shared historical narrative of slavery and redemption, and a common destiny to possess and inhabit the land of Canaan. The subsequent conquest of Canaan under Joshua and the period of the Judges further solidify this national identity. The 12 tribes, though often acting independently, are united by their shared faith and their common allegiance to the God of Israel. They are the Israelites, a people who have moved from being a wandering clan to a landed nation, defined by their covenant, their law, and their land. The era of the Israelites is the era of the kingdom, the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem by King Solomon, and the establishment of a centralized political and religious authority. It is the golden age of a nation living in its promised land, governed by its divine law. However, this golden age was not to last. Following the death of King Solomon, internal divisions and political strife led to the fracturing of the kingdom. The nation split into two: the northern kingdom of Israel, comprising 10 of the 12 tribes, and the southern kingdom of Judah, which consisted of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, with its capital in Jerusalem. This political schism would have profound and lasting consequences for the identity of the people. In 722 BCE, the mighty Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom of Israel, deporting a significant portion of its population and scattering them throughout the Assyrian Empire. These are the famous 10 lost tribes of Israel. Their fate remains a subject of historical debate and speculation, but from a historical perspective, they largely assimilated into the cultures they were exiled to and lost their distinct Israelite identity. The inhabitants of the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, now found themselves as the primary custodians of the covenant, the Torah, and the traditions of their Israelite ancestors. From this point on, the term Yehudi, or Jew, which derives from the name of the kingdom, Judah, begins to be used to refer to them. Initially, Jew was a geographical and political term, designating an inhabitant of Judea. However, its meaning would soon evolve dramatically. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar, conquered the kingdom of Judah, destroyed Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, the very heart of their religious life, and exiled the majority of the Judean population to Babylon. This event, the Babylonian exile, is arguably the most traumatic and transformative period in the history of the Jewish people. Cut off from their land, their temple, and their king, they were forced to redefine their identity in a foreign, pagan land. It was during this period of exile that the term Jew began to take on a primarily religious and cultural significance, rather than a purely national one. Without a state or a central sanctuary, their identity coalesced around their sacred texts, the Torah, and their shared religious practices and beliefs. Synagogues began to emerge as local centers for prayer and study, laying the groundwork for a new form of religious life that was not dependent on a physical temple. The scribes and prophets of the exile, such as Ezekiel and Jeremiah, played a crucial role in preserving and reinterpreting their traditions, helping the people maintain their unique identity in the face of immense pressure to assimilate. They were no longer simply Israelites, citizens of a defunct kingdom. They were now Jews, a people defined by their unwavering adherence to the laws and traditions of Judah, even in exile. This shift from a land-based national identity to a portable, text-based religious identity was a revolutionary development that would ensure the survival of the people. When the Persian Emperor Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon and allowed the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple, they returned not just as descendants of the ancient Israelites but as a community of Jews, with a renewed and fortified sense of their unique religious purpose. The period of the Second Temple, which stood for nearly 600 years, saw the further crystallization of Jewish identity. During this time, Judaism as we know it today began to take shape, with the development of rabbinic traditions, the canonization of the Hebrew Bible, and the flourishing of diverse Jewish philosophies and sects. However, the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 CE marked another cataclysmic turning point. This event ended any semblance of Jewish political autonomy in the land of Israel for nearly 2 millennia and precipitated the Great Diaspora, the scattering of the Jewish people throughout the world. This second great exile solidified the transformation of Jewish identity. Without a temple and without a land, the Jewish people became the quintessential people of the book. Their identity was preserved and transmitted through the study of the Torah and the Talmud, the vast compendium of rabbinic law, lore, and ethics. The home and the synagogue became the primary sacred spaces, and the rabbis replaced the priests as the central religious authorities. To be a Jew was to be part of a global community, a nation without borders, bound together by a shared history, a sacred literature, a common set of beliefs and practices, and a longing for a return to their ancestral homeland. Over the centuries of diaspora, Jews lived as minorities in Christian and Muslim lands, often facing persecution, discrimination, and violence. Yet, they not only survived, but thrived, making significant contributions to science, philosophy, arts, and commerce in every land they inhabited, all while meticulously preserving their unique cultural and religious heritage. So, to summarize the progression, the term Hebrew refers to the earliest semi-nomadic ancestors of the Jewish people, starting with Abraham, the man who crossed over. It is a term rooted in a geographical and familial
Israelite
context. Refers to the descendants of Jacob, Israel, who formed the 12 tribes and coalesced into a nation, particularly from the time of the Exodus through the period of the monarchy. This is a national and political identity, tied to a specific land and a divine covenant. Finally, Jew originates from the kingdom of Judah and comes to describe the people who maintained their identity after the destruction of the First Temple and throughout the long centuries of exile and diaspora. This is primarily a religious and cultural identity, one that has proven resilient enough to survive the loss of land and statehood. In the modern era, these distinctions have gained new layers of meaning. With the rise of the Zionist movement in the late 19th century and the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the terms Jew and Israeli have become intertwined, yet they are not synonymous. An Israeli is a citizen of the modern State of Israel, regardless of their religious or ethnic background. The population of Israel is diverse and includes Jewish Israelis, Arab Israelis, who may be Muslim, Christian, or Druze, and other minority groups. Therefore, not all Israelis are Jewish, and crucially, not all Jews are Israelis. In fact, the majority of the world's Jewish population still lives outside of the State of Israel, in the diaspora. Today, the term Jew is the most encompassing and commonly used term to describe the people, both as a religious group and as an ethnic or cultural nation. It refers to anyone who is born of a Jewish mother or who has converted to Judaism. It is an identity that can be religious, cultural, or both. A person can be a secular, atheistic Jew who identifies strongly with Jewish culture, history, and peoplehood, just as a person can be a devoutly religious Jew primarily used in historically, linguistic, or academic contexts to refer to the ancient people or the Hebrew language. While the modern State of Israel is a revival of the ancient Commonwealth, the term Israelite is almost exclusively used to describe the members of the ancient kingdoms of Israel and Judah. In essence, the journey from Hebrew to Israelite to Jew is a testament to an extraordinary capacity for adaptation and survival. It is the story of a people whose identity has continuously evolved in response to historical circumstances, from a wandering clan defined by a promise to a nation defined by a land and a law, and finally, to a global community defined by a shared text, a collective memory, and an unbreakable spirit. It is a narrative that demonstrates how an identity can be untethered from geography and politics and find its anchor in faith, culture, and a profound sense of shared history. Understanding these three terms is not merely about understanding definitions. It is about appreciating the resilience, the adaptability, and the enduring legacy of a people who have journeyed through history, constantly redefining themselves while holding fast to the core tenets of their ancient covenant. This remarkable odyssey, from a single man who crossed a river to a vibrant global nation, is a powerful story of identity, faith, and perseverance that continues to unfold to this day.